Alright, so maybe you are in Sri Lanka or you are planning to visit Sri Lanka and you are looking for some places to visit. Maybe you want to know a bit of the history of the Air Force of Sri Lanka, or maybe you want to find what's the oldest airport over here. Then you have come to the right place. Nestled in the heart of the city, 31 minutes away from Colombo, is one of the cheapest and interesting places you can add to your travel destinations. Join me in this vlog as we visit a must-see place in Colombo and check out what surprises it holds. Hey guys, welcome to Flaming Yakuma. And for those who don't know me, I'm a Sri Lankan vlogger and I just started out my channel. And for today's episode, we are here right at the Ratmalana Airport Museum in Sri Lanka, and right behind me is a Kfir. So today I'm going to showcase you what Ratmalana Airport has to offer and what you can do in Sri Lanka. So remember, buckle up, fasten your seatbelts, and let's take off on this journey. It costs $10 for an adult and $3 for a kid, while locals have to pay 200 rupees for the airport museum. Remember, this airport museum is inside a Air Force base, so always stay within the marked areas and don't venture apart from the areas that is already marked. Our first aircraft was the Chipmunk Mk-10, and it was the first aircraft entered into the Ceylon Air Force, and it was used as a basic trainer. Next we had the MiG-17, and it was one of the first fighter bombers which the Ceylon Air Force had back in the days, and it was decommissioned in 1980, but we had 5 of these. Alright you guys, we are here with the DH-104 Dove. It was one of the most successful post-British aircrafts, post-war aircrafts, and it can carry 6 passengers, and it's pretty cool. Thing cool that we came across was how crashed aircrafts was recovered. So tracks were used to pull these aircrafts. The MiG-17 was damaged due to retracting of the gear. Next we have the Douglas DC-3, and we had 2 of these aircrafts operated by Air Ceylon back in the days, and it was a passenger and cargo transport aircraft. It has the capacity to have 2 crew members, and it can carry 28 passengers too. And we had a quick look inside. We can go inside the aircraft. You can walk around in the aircraft. The DC-3 looks really cool, and it had a lot of analog displays back in which is back in the days, and it was used from 1975 to 1986 by the Ceylon Air Force, and it has huge wingspan too. And this aircraft had a maximum takeoff weight of 12,700 kilos. This aircraft, you guys, has 2 propellers, one at the back and one in the front. It's pretty cool. It's first time I'm seeing an aircraft with 2 propellers, one at the rear and one in the front. This is a Cessna 337F Skymaster, also built I think by the US, and in Sri Lanka I think it was used as a passenger transport and surveillance aircraft. Alright, so this is the aircraft which replaced the DC-3. It's a Hawker Siddley HS748, and it is also a passenger cargo transport, and it was decommissioned back in 2003, introduced in 1979. The Sri Lankan Air Force had 5 of these. And what's unique about this aircraft today is that you can go inside. There's a simulation inside, so you can get an experience of flying in one of these aircrafts. It's great especially for kids, and you can see, like, there's a screen on the window and you can kind of have the real experience of flying in a domestic aircraft in Sri Lanka. This is some footage I captured while flying over Sri Lanka in 2019, and you get that experience. So the Ratmalana Airport Museum is home for helicopters as well, like this one, and you had different kinds of vehicles. For instance, you had a truck from the USSR, 2 trucks from the USSR, which was used to for different kinds of ground equipment and powering up aircrafts to refilling oxygen. And also you can see the weaponry used by these aircrafts as well. Alright, we are going to head inside the hangar and check out what they actually have in this hangar. Alright, so there are 3 hangars that you can explore at the Air Force Museum, and this one in particular is a hangar with the different kinds of bombs and weapons, drones that were used in the war, and these things were like a flashback from the past because you have the different kinds of medals to what the RAF wore back in the days and all that, which is impressive. Alright, you guys, these are like different kinds of utensils, ceramics used by the Royal Air Force back in the days. So the British Air Force was here and they also played a major role in developing our Air Force. So this is some things that they used. You also got the different kinds of uniforms that the Air Force had over the past few years, and it's quite interesting to see all the different kinds of uniforms. Tell us about your experience over here flying in a parachute every single day. Okay. Alright, so would you like to say anything to the camera?
Wait a minute! Who are you?
Okay. So wish you all the best. Have a nice day. See you next time. Alright guys, you won't believe this, but this is actually a 6x4 tractor by Scammer, and it's made in London. This huge tractor, which we definitely have to talk about, is used for recovering aircrafts, and it was used by Air Force back then to do all the recoveries. Yeah, it's basically a recovery vehicle. Alright, so these are some of the cars being used by diplomats, presidents, Air Force personnel. And for example, this Benz 500, it's actually an armored limousine. So bulletproof, used by different diplomats, VIPs, and state leaders of our country long ago. Of course, these have now changed over the past. But it's pretty cool to see this. This was actually a vehicle used by Sri Lankan Air Force members too. It's a Ford. It's a cool car. And an Austin Sham Firefly 5 vehicle service. Pretty cool. Looks like a little, not like Firefly, but looks like a little ladybug. But here's why I think it got the name Firefly. You got a huge lamp up there. And let's check out the insides. Alright, so if you are traveling to the airport museum, definitely carry some snacks and a bottle of water, because we went on a day where there was not much of a crowd and there were supposed to be 2 shops open and they were closed too. So just to be safe, just in case, just keep something with you ready.
Helicopter, helicopter.
Alright guys, right over here is the Mi-24 gunship built by Russia. It's codenamed the Hind helicopter by the Western powers, NATO and all that. So the main purpose of this gunship is actually it's for anti-tank, it's used for anti-tank purposes, plus it's used for armed escorts. So to this day, our country uses this gunship, and it's really interesting because it can carry 8 troops as well, right in the back, as you can see over there, and it's still being used since 1995. It's a pretty unique aircraft built by the Russians. I think even in Ukraine it's still being used, and make peace, not war. Alright guys, so a bit of history about Ratmalana Airport. It started back in 1935 thanks to the Royal Air Force from UK, and today, to this day, we are still using the airport for domestic flights. Today, Ratmalana Airport is functioning as a secondary airport in Sri Lanka. Our main international airport is Bandaranaike International Airport, and we just resumed operations over here at Ratmalana with countries such as Maldives. It does operate multiple flights domestically, including Trincomalee, Ambantara, to Batiklo, to all that. So that's a bit about the airport, and if you do take a small tour at the museum, it's pretty evident that we do have a lot of past aircraft that you can learn about. We do have different kinds of simulations to all that, so it's a great place for a family. This part of the airport shows different kinds of crashed aircrafts to burnt out vehicles to all that. So these are vehicles damaged during the Civil War, and it's pretty sad because we did have a 30-year brutal civil war, and the airport museum does showcase the destroyed aircrafts as well. From a Kfir to a MiG-27 trainee fighter jet, it's quite amazing to see how over the past few years the different kinds of aircrafts from back then when Ceylon Air Force just started to what the new different kinds of aircrafts and fighter jets we do have in our fleets today. And it goes on to show how mankind has developed technology over the last few years. It was an absolutely beautiful day. It was quite sunny and windy and cloudy at the same time, and it was a perfect environment for us to do some exploration at the airport museum in Ratmalana. Our next stop in our destination was to head to the hangar. We came across an interesting exhibit where one of the UAVs were developed by the Sri Lankan Air Force along with the University of Moratuwa, and it has endurance time of 2 hours and can fly at around 8,000 feet, which is pretty impressive. 6,000 years before the Wright brothers invented the powered aircraft, this machine was known as the Dandu Monara, where King Ravana used to fly this to bring Queen Sita from King Rama in India, and they say that this is his aircraft. Alright guys, so you've got a little children's park, and if you are coming over with your family, especially if you have kids, it's a great place to bring your children as well. There's a lot of things to learn about over here in the airport museum, and with that you can, even for the kids, you have You can see different kinds of aircraft. The final destination we had was the souvenir shop at the Airport Museum, and we ended up buying a cap and a bag and a notebook, something to remember the Airport Museum. I ended up buying a Kfir fighter jet model, and it will take about a month for it to be ready. So I will do another episode on that because those models have to be made by the Air Force engineering team and all that. So pretty excited for it, and you too can head out to the Air Force Museum and get your own merchandise. Alright guys, so I do hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I do hope you did learn something of this video as well about the different kinds of aircrafts here at Ratmalana Airport Museum. So if you are interested, do head out to the Ratmalana Airport Museum. You do have to find a little bit of transport like a tuk-tuk, because you don't have buses coming out over here. That's about 2.1 kilometers from the main Gaul road if you want to head out to the museum. So until next time, stay safe and I'll see you soon. Flaming Yakuma out.